What kind of car is it? The Lexus RX is positioned in the SUV segment, a midsize SUV. Its body length is 4,890 millimeters with a 2,790 millimeters wheelbase. In theory, it competes with the Audi Q8, BMW X6, and Mercedes GLE Coupe. In practice, it should be placed somewhere between them and models in the lower segment. This is due, among other things, to the wheelbase, which is noticeably shorter in the Lexus. This is a characteristic feature of this model, where long overhangs contrast starkly with the visually short wheelbase. The car is undoubtedly spacious, however. The front seats are very comfortable, with typical American seats that don't offer much support in corners, except in the F-Sport trim. However, the cockpit is quite expansive, with a wide center tunnel, so the driver and passenger don't have much freedom of movement. In this respect, the Lexus RX is very similar to the aforementioned competitors. Although there's plenty of knee room in the rear and the rear seats are wide, adults may have trouble getting their feet under the front seats. Furthermore, the rear seats are set low, so taller passengers' knees will be high. This is definitely a car for 2 adults and 2 or 3 children. The Lexus RX's trunk has a capacity of 453 liters. It's wide and long, but quite low. As with other SUVs with a sloping rear end, it's difficult to transport large items or items taller than the cargo cover. The quality of materials is high for this period of production, but the multimedia system, for example, feels significantly outdated. The build quality isn't perfect, and in places you can see the Japanese premium feel, i.e. cheap-looking plastics. In other places, quite the opposite. For example, the audio and climate control knobs look very good. The top-of-the-line Mark Levinson sound system also sounds excellent. The Lexus RX isn't designed for dynamic cornering, though the sporty F-Sport version with adaptive dampers handles it well. The car should be considered a large vehicle for city or highway driving. The suspension comfort is excellent. Which engine to choose? The good news is that each type of powertrain is good in this car, although it's aimed at a specific customer. The only thing really missing is a diesel, and in this area, the Lexus RX fell behind its competitors. The most dynamic version is the RX 450h, a hybrid. It's also the most economical. In practice, it burns roughly the same amount of fuel on the highway as the 350, but outperforms it in the city. Users report fuel consumption of less than 8 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, although average fuel consumption always hovers around 9 to 10 liters per 100 kilometers. The RX 350 version, remember, it's rare as it's a US-made car, is a great option for those who appreciate classic styling, traditional automatic transmission, and good dynamics. LPG is an alternative to a hybrid. However, it's important to remember that the system for this car must be carefully tailored and can be quite expensive, over 6,000 euros. The problem here is the combined injection, indirect and direct, as well as the Atkinson cycle. The same challenges will apply to other engine versions when choosing an LPG system. The smallest 2.0 turbo engine is a unit known from smaller and lighter Lexuses, but it's perfectly adequate to power the RX. It offers a significant amount of power, but above all, torque, generating a maximum of 350 Nm. This is only 20 Nm less than the V6, with the 2 zeros peaking between 1650 and 4000 revolutions per minute, and the V6s between 4600 and 4700 revolutions per minute. Despite this, there's less power, so the 0 to 100 km/h sprint takes about a second longer. Furthermore, the gearbox only has 6 gears. The main drawback to this engine is its high fuel consumption, which can reach up to 11 liters per 100 kilometers. Nevertheless, it's a suitable engine for those who don't need the sound of a V6 and prefer a relaxed, moderate-speed drive. It's also worth noting that all RX variants have a top speed of 200 km/h. Only the hybrid version has 180 km/h. In short, if you're looking for the most efficient drivetrain possible, the answer is simple: a hybrid. For those who love traditional solutions and want the safest option, the RX 350 is the best choice. Of course, it's safe provided you know the car's history, as these are American-made cars. On the other hand, a car with a 2-liter engine is simply the cheapest for its model year. With 3 versions for 3 different buyers, the choice is quite simple. Typical faults. It's difficult to describe any typical faults with this model, as it's a new car and well-maintained models still dominate the market. Buying a US-made or European hybrid is the most risky option. While there are no complaints about the 3.5 volts 6 engine, 2GRFX, experience from hybrid repair shops points to problems with clogged intake manifolds and the battery cooling filter. It's worth having this area inspected annually, authorized dealerships generally don't do this, or visiting the area yourself and taking care of the filter. Failure of any hybrid drive component will be costly. The 3.5-liter engine without the hybrid system is designated 2GRFKS. It's the exact same unit as the 450H, with the single letter in the code simply indicating the installation variant. It has a timing chain, which rarely failed in its predecessor, 2GRFE, and there are no signs of any changes here. It features reliable direct and indirect injection, making carbon buildup virtually impossible. The 2-liter 8AR FTS gasoline engine, like the larger V6, also uses mixed fuel injection and the Atkinson cycle. An interesting feature is the use of a twin-scroll turbocharger, which allows for maximum torque at very low revs. Unfortunately, this is where the most serious concerns arise about damage to the exhaust manifold, which is integrated with the cylinder head. While replacing the turbocharger itself won't be significantly more expensive than in other engines, replacing the manifold can be quite expensive. No such cases have been reported so far. A relatively common undesirable phenomenon is wheel vibration. This isn't entirely the wheel's fault, as the suspension design and wheel size make the car sensitive to the slightest deviations from ideal. Therefore, it's worth ensuring the suspension is fully functional and rotating the tires annually. It's also a good idea to buy high-quality tires. After purchasing a car from the first 2 years of production, it's worth visiting an authorized service center to check if the passenger airbag is subject to a recall. After purchasing a low-mileage car, it's worth considering the Lexus Relax program, which offers a warranty of up to 10 years and 185,000 kilometers. Operating costs. Without a doubt, a Lexus is an expensive car to own for several reasons. First, purchasing parts and often servicing requires a dealership. Purchasing cheaper alternatives somewhat negates the point of buying a Lexus that's only a few years old if you're looking for high quality and reliability. Unfortunately, don't expect low prices. For example, the suspension is made mostly of aluminum, the brakes are large, and the tires are expensive. As for tires, 18 inches is the typical standard rim size. These tires are 235/65 and have relatively high indices. Assuming you don't skimp on this, you'll need to spend around $700 to $800 per tire. For 235/55 R20 tires, the price increases to around €1,000. The second issue is fuel consumption. Even with an LPG system installed, say in a 2.0 or 3.5, you should expect fuel consumption to be around 12 to 13 liters of gas and some petrol. A hybrid with LPG will be the most economical. The third issue is the risk of theft, which is significant, and good insurance plus additional protection is the minimum requirement.